Have you ever wondered why some families stay wealthy for generations while others lose everything within a few years? It's not because they work harder. It's not because they're luckier. And it's definitely not because they know a few secret stock tips. The truth is, wealthy families teach their children lessons that are never taught in school. These aren't complicated financial formulas. They're powerful mental models, hidden strategies, and ways of thinking that quietly compound into millions of dollars over a lifetime. In today's video, we're revealing 10 wealth lessons that rich families pass down behind closed doors. Lessons about failure, investing, taxes, asset protection, decision-making, and building wealth that lasts for generations. Some of these ideas might completely change the way you think about money. Let's get right into it. Number 10, a business designed to fail. Some wealthy parents give their kids a business, but not just any business, a business designed to fail on purpose. While most parents buy soccer cleats and video games, some rich families hand their teenager a small company and say, "Here, run this into the ground." And they mean it literally. Maybe it's a tiny lemonade stand with a location nobody walks past, or a car wash in a town where it rains 11 months a year. The point isn't to succeed. The point is to fail. Because here's what schools never teach you. Bankruptcy isn't the end. It's a skill. When a normal person goes broke for the first time, it's terrifying. They freeze up, panic, and make desperate decisions. But when a wealthy kid goes broke for the first time at 16, with their parents watching from a safe distance, they learn something that can't be taught in a classroom. They learn that failure has a shape. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And most importantly, they learn there's a morning after. You wake up, the world is still there, and you figure out what went wrong. Walt Disney went bankrupt before he built an empire. Henry Ford failed twice before Ford Motor Company existed. Wealthy families know this history. So instead of protecting their kids from failure, they schedule it. There's a name for what happens when you survive a financial failure. Scientists call it post-traumatic growth. You come out the other side, slightly unbreakable. A business degree teaches you what failure looks like on paper. A failed business teaches you what failure feels like in your stomach at 2 o'clock in the morning. One of those lessons you remember forever. Number 9, the tax code is a treasure map. You think the tax code is a rule book? Wealthy families teach their kids it's a treasure map. The government buries free money inside that document, and they want certain people to find it. One of the most powerful hidden passages is called a stepped-up basis. Say a grandfather bought Apple stock in 1990 for $1,000. Today, that stock is worth $500,000. If he sells it, he owes capital gains tax on $499,000 of profit. So he doesn't sell it. He just holds it. When he dies, he passes it to his kids. The moment they inherit that stock, the government resets the cost in their hands. It's as if they bought it for $500,000, not $1,000. The $499,000 of gains that built up over decades, wiped out, never taxed. The kids can sell the next day and owe almost nothing. Wealthy families have a name for this strategy. Buy, borrow, die. Buy assets that appreciate. If you need cash, borrow against them instead of selling. Then, pass them to your heirs at death. The gains legally disappear. It's the ultimate tax loophole written into the law, waiting for anyone who knows where to look. Number 8, the barbell strategy. Most people invest like they're ordering from a menu they don't understand. They point at something in the middle and hope for the best. Moderate risk, moderate reward. It sounds reasonable, but it's a quiet way to lose. Wealthy families use the barbell strategy. Picture a barbell at the gym. Heavy weight on one end, heavy weight on the other, nothing in the middle. You split your money into 2 extreme buckets. 90% goes into the safest, most boring things you can find. Treasury bonds, index funds, cash. Things that basically cannot go to zero. Then, with the other 10%, you go crazy. You bet on the weird startup nobody believes in. You buy the volatile asset everyone thinks is stupid. You take swings that could either triple your money or disappear completely. And you're fine with it disappearing because it's only 10%. The 90% protects you from being wiped out. The 10% gives you a shot at a life-changing win. The real danger zone is the middle. The pretty safe, but not really investments. The medium-risk portfolio slowly gets eaten by fees and mistimed panics. The barbell strategy avoids this by separating safety and risk completely. Number 7, the invisible balance sheet. Every person in your life is either adding to you or draining you. There is no neutral. Wealthy families teach their kids to audit their social circle like an accountant audits a company. Think of your energy like a phone battery. Some people you hang around and you walk away fully charged. Other people you spend an hour with and you're at 4%. A liability in your life might be your funniest friend, the one who's always laughing but also always distracting you, always has a reason why your ideas won't work. That person is funny and extremely expensive. An asset is someone who challenges you, someone who has already done what you're trying to do, someone who tells you the hard truth. The 5 people you spend the most time with will shape your income and habits more than any school. The rich train their children to actively seek out assets. Go where they are, join the right clubs, attend the right events. Warren Buffett said one of the most important decisions of his life was choosing to track down and study under his mentor, Benjamin Graham. He treated access to that man like an investment because it was. Most people never audit their social circle. They just keep whoever showed up, but loyalty to the wrong people is a slow leak in your tire. You don't notice it until you're stuck on the side of the road, wondering why you never got anywhere. Number 6, control, don't own. The goal isn't to own things. The goal is to control things. When you own something in your name, it's a target. If someone sues you, they can take it. Wealthy families put their assets inside structures, trusts, holding companies, and LLCs. On paper, nobody in the family owns it. The trust owns it. The LLC owns it, but the family controls everything. Imagine a guy named Gerald. He owns a mansion and a business in his own name. Gerald gets sued and loses. The lawyer finds his name on everything and takes it all. Now, meet his cousin Patricia. She has the same wealth, but does things differently. Her business is owned by a holding company. Her mansion is inside a trust. Her boat is in another LLC. Patricia gets sued for the same amount. The lawyer digs and finds nothing in her name. Patricia controls all of it, but owns none of it on paper. The lawsuit goes nowhere. This is called asset protection. The wealthy set this up before anything goes wrong, because you can't build a firewall after the fire starts. These structures also protect wealth across generations. The trust becomes the invisible hand that keeps the family on track with rules that can last for decades, ensuring one person's bad decision can't sink the whole ship. Number 5, hunting for asymmetric bets. Wealthy families train their children to hunt for something most people never look for. They call it an asymmetric bet. The downside is tiny and fixed. The upside is way bigger. Most people ask, what could go wrong? Wealthy families ask, how much can I lose versus how much can I win? If you can lose a little but win a lot, that's the green light. A writer spends 3 months of evenings writing a book. Worst case, nobody buys it and she's out 3 months of time. Best case, it sells for decades. That's asymmetric. A guy buys a lottery ticket every week. His odds are near zero. That's also asymmetric, but in the wrong direction. The small downside keeps adding up while the upside never changes. Before you invest money or time, ask 2 questions. What's the absolute worst that happens, and what's the best that happens? If the best case massively outweighs the worst, you might have found your bet. Most people never do this math. They just feel nervous and say no, or feel excited and say yes. Wealthy families run on math, not feelings. Number 4, the family bank. Wealthy families have their own bank. When a kid wants money for a car or a business idea, the parents don't just hand it over. They set up a loan with real terms, a real interest rate, and a real repayment schedule. The kid has to sit down and make their case exactly like they would at a real bank. But this is training wheels. Miss a payment at a real bank and your credit score is damaged for 7 years. Miss a payment at the family bank and you have an uncomfortable dinner conversation. Still painful, but survivable. The interest rate isn't zero. That's the whole point. A small interest rate teaches the kid that money has a cost. Borrowing isn't free. They learn the price of capital, a concept most adults don't understand until they're drowning in credit card debt. When the family bank says no, you get a conversation, not a rejection letter. Here is why your plan doesn't work. Here's what you need to fix. Come back when you've done it. It's not just financial education, it's teaching a kid how to think. The goal is to make sure the first few failures happen while the stakes are still small. Better to learn a lesson that cost $200 at 16 than $200,000 at 36. Number 3, the money autopsy. When wealthy families lose money, they don't just move on. They cut the failure open and figure out exactly where it bled out. They call a money autopsy. Most people lose money, blame bad luck, and then make the exact same mistake 2 years later because they never looked at what really killed the investment. Let's say you invested in a friend's restaurant and it failed. Most people say restaurants are risky. A wealthy family asks specific questions. Did I read the financials, or did I invest just because I like my friend? What red flags did I ignore? What I need to see next time too. Make a different call. Every question is a scalpel. Warren Buffett called his $433 million purchase of Dexter Shoe one of the worst deals he ever made. He did the autopsy out loud in front of millions of people to analyze his mistake. The autopsy isn't punishment. It's protection. Schools teach you failure is something to avoid. Wealthy families teach you failure is just expensive data. The key is to make sure you use it. Number 2, the failure resume. Wealthy families make their kids keep a list of every time they failed. Not a list of wins, a list of screw-ups. They call it a failure resume. It's the opposite of a regular resume. Every bad bet, every crashed business idea, every time you're completely wrong. Imagine 2 pilots. Pilot A has only flown in perfect weather. Pilot B has survived engine failures and emergency landings. Who do you want flying your plane? A person with 0 failures hasn't been tested. They've just been lucky, and luck runs out. In the business world, no. Failures mean one thing. You never took a real risk. The failure resume turns your worst moments into your most valuable data. You write down what you tried, what went wrong, and what you do differently. Over time, you spot patterns in your own behavior you'd otherwise miss. The most expensive mistake you can make isn't failing. It's failing and learning nothing from it. That piece of paper with your failures listed on it is worth more than any trophy you ever won. Number 1, the generational narrative. Wealthy families tell their kids a story. When a kid grows up, they don't just get handed money. They get handed context. They hear about the grandfather who came to the country with $40 in his pocket, the business that failed twice before it worked, the winter the family ate the same soup for 3 weeks. That kid who grew up comfortable now has a reason not to waste what they have. It's like being handed a trophy while also watching footage of the brutal training that earned it. You treat it differently. Without that story, comfort feels normal. When things feel normal, you stop appreciating them. Then you stop protecting them. That's how generational wealth disappears. There's a saying for this: shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. The first generation builds it through pain. The second maintains it. The third, having never heard the story, loses it all. Schools teach math. They don't teach you why losing everything your family built would be a tragedy worth avoiding. So, start the story now. Don't hide your struggles to protect your kids. Share them to prepare them. The story you tell today becomes the foundation they build on tomorrow. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.